Fayette TV and the HeraldStandard.com proudly bring you live election night coverage, hosted by HeraldStandard.com Executive Editor Mark O'Keefe, co-hosted by Fayette TV personality David Slesoric, with updates from the Fayette County Election Bureau by talk radio host Bill Alexander, and a special report from the Fayette County Courthouse by Matthew Dowling. And now, your election night host, Mr. Mark O'Keefe.
Certainly seen a lot. Certainly seen a lot over elections, and certainly realized that a lot can happen. This election, certainly, of course, the presidential election is the big race in this election, and certainly does look like it's going to be very close. Already, a lot of the results are in, mainly from states that you kind of knew were either going to go for Obama or for former Massachusetts Governor Mitt Romney. But so it looks like it's going to be a long night. It's going to be a very interesting night, and we hope that everybody stays with us. We will be having updates of the national presidential election results throughout the evening, but we will be taking a look at a number of other races, and there were a number of other races on the ballot, although the presidential was certainly most interesting, was far from the only one, and we just want to kind of go through and look at some of the other races that we had. Probably the second biggest one was the U.S. Senate race, where Bob Casey Jr. is seeking a second term against Republican Tom Smith, and right. I think a lot of people probably thought that Bob Casey was going to kind of cruise to victory. Tom Smith from Armstrong County was relatively unknown, but he poured a lot of money into this campaign, and the polls tightened, and I think it's, at this point, you know, it would be an upset if Tom Smith won, but I think that he's probably within shouting distance anyway, probably giving Bob Casey a much closer race than he thought possible. There's also three statewide races. We have Attorney General Democrat Kathleen Kane, former Lackawanna County Assistant District Attorney, is running against Republican David Freed, who's the Cumberland County District Attorney. They're replacing Linda Kelly, who replaced Tom Corbett whenever he was elected governor. Linda Kelly agreed not to run for a term there. The Auditor General, Jack Wagner, was not able to run. He served 2 terms. That's it for the term limits there. And you have 2 state representatives running, Republican John Maher of Allegheny County and Democrat Eugene DePasquale of York County. Maher, the Republican, and DePasquale, the Democrat. And for state treasurer, you have Republican Diane Irie Vaughn, a Washington County Commissioner, running against the Democratic incumbent Rob McCord. And then there's 5 local races on the ballot in the 9th Congressional District, and the 9th Congressional District previously only took in a small portion of Fayette County and went all the way out to Harrisburg, but now the district has moved westward, and for starting next year, it will include all of Fayette County and parts of eastern Greene and eastern Washington County. So, but in order for the representative to represent the district next year, he had to run in this district for this year. And you have Republican incumbent Bill Schuster, who's seeking his 6th term against a Democratic newcomer, Karen Ransburg, a registered nurse from Mercersburg. She won a write-in campaign in the primary to get on the ballot. And we have 4 legislative races. We have in the 51st Legislative District, Democratic incumbent Tim Mahoney is running against Republican Gary Gearing. It's the 4th time that they've actually run against each other, 2004, 2006, 2008 previously. In the 49th Legislative District, we have Democratic incumbent Peter J. Daly, Democrat from California, running against Republican Richard Massafra from Monongahela. The district includes mostly Washington County, kind of Des Moines Valley, Monongahela, Denora, that area, and it includes Brownsville, Redstone Townships, and parts of Washington and Manellin Townships. And then in the 50th District, where the former longtime legislator Bill DeWeese was more or less booted off the ballot over his, because he had been convicted of allegations of election fraud, having his employees working on behalf of DeWeese as elections on state time. And the 50th District, which includes all of Greene County, parts of Fayette and Washington counties, and the candidates there are Democrat Pam Snyder and Republican Mark Fisher. And then we also have the 59th District. Republican incumbent Mike Reese of Mount Pleasant is running against Republican challenger Harriet Ellenberger of Novell. So Reese was unchallenged in 2010, and Ellenberger is the vice chair of the Westmoreland County Democratic Committee and vice president of the Labor United Committee. So that's it for right now. We're going to go to Dave Solarchik. He's got some updates with the national election results.
Well, thank you, Mark and Vince. I believe we're going to have Mr. Bill Alexander on the line. Bill is live out at the Election Bureau tonight. So if we can patch Bill in.
Hi, Dave. Yeah, here at the Election Bureau, and as we have the results coming in, you may be hearing metal push cards coming past me. They're coming in slowly, but they're coming in. Right now, standing with me, I have former county commissioner candidate, Republican Dave Lohr here, who's been watching the stuff going on this evening. Dave, can you tell me, what have you seen so far tonight?
Well, I see a lot of tired people. I've watched this turnouts for a long, long time.
Because of the new voter regulations, they seem more tired, more exhausted to say, because it's been a longer day?
And Bill, I think it's more than anything else, probably 50-55% of the voters turned out. They just did a lot of work today, and they're just tired, which they've earned a, I guess you call it a wage pay, or a day's pay today, but they were very good. I compliment them.
It's amazing to hear, as you can hear, one of the metal push cards coming through right now of the boxes and boxes of voter ballots that are coming through right now. Were you out at any of the voting polling places today?
Yeah, I was at Bullskin 1, Hutchinson, and Dunbar 3, and I think 4, and several different places like that. And it was just a big turnout, consistent turnout. I love it. Great.
Do you have any feelings right now on who any of the front runners are in this race, especially locally?
Well, I have my bias, I'll say it that way. And I hope I'm a Republican, and I hope we will be calling Governor Romney, President Romney, back tomorrow, hopefully.
Anything about the local races you want to talk about, or are they just a little bit too close?
Everything's so close. I think that the whole thing is in the air for a while. Hopefully it won't get into the courts. That's negative for any of them, but at the same time, it has to go that way. The law is going to separately. It's hard to say for sure until all the numbers are counted.
Sounds great, Dave. Thank you very much, and thank you for spending time with us. We're going to be out here throughout the night this evening at the Election Bureau here in Fayette County, giving you some of the results as they come through, and working with you guys back at the studio. So reporting live from the Fayette County Election Bureau, I'm Bill Alexander for Fayette TV.
Thank you, Bill. We appreciate that. Bill, are you still with us? We'll find out. We'll have another update with Bill here shortly. I wanted to toss to a piece. I had the privilege actually today to travel and visit around with some of the polling places here locally in Fayette County, trying to understand a little bit about the hearts and minds of our local voters, and seeing why it was so important for them to be out at the polls today. I myself vote in the Manellan Township at Manellan Elementary School, and I can tell you folks that the turnout there was the most I've ever seen in my history of voting, and the staff out there said the same. So let's take a look at from several of the polling places across Uniontown, Connellsville, and around Fayette County.
Online. You're going online with Bill Alexander.
So if we could pull up that news package.
Sir, was this your first time voting today?
Yes, it was. It was my first time voting. I'm 18 years old. I turned 18 last month. So.
Were you excited to vote in today's election?
Yes, I was.
I'm here with the Manellan Township voter. Ma'am, why do you think it's so important to come out on Election Day and cast your ballot?
I think we all need to cast our ballot, have our voice heard, no matter what our voice is. definitely mean that's our privilege and our right.
Well, I think it's our civic duty. I've always voted as long as I can remember. Even when I was in the service for 20 years overseas, absentee ballots, that was just my thing.
I believe that it is our privilege and our right to vote. I live in a country that is free, and I would love to stay in a country that is free. If you don't feel that it's important enough to vote, then you should be in the countries where they have no vote. This way we control what goes on by the people and for the people.
I listen, I watch a lot of television, I read my AARP magazine, and I still just kind of take it all in as much as I can.
Yeah, just go vote because we all need to change the world in some way or the other, and one step is going to change tomorrow somehow. So.
Now, if you wouldn't mind me asking, do you tend to, a lot of folks vote straight party, others vote for the issues. Is there a particular, you don't have to say which, but is there a particular party you tend to align yourself with, or are you kind of a candidate-driven person?
I'm more a candidate-driven person.
How did you research or learn about some of the issues at stake this year?
Been watching the candidates, listening to the debates, just looking on what's going on in the nation right now, and made my decision there.
Are there any issues that you feel are particularly important to us here in Fayette County, maybe that particularly affect Fayette County residents?
Well, I know we need a lot of help here with different issues in the county. You know, our county's not on the very top of the list.
Knowing most of the ones that are on the ballot today, I believe that with everything that they are, that they're trying to give Uniontown a place on the map to make sure that our city still prospers.
Of our voters at our local polling places. Coming up, we'll hear a little bit about what some of the issues were that these voters felt were most important to them, the issues that maybe resonated with them or affected their ultimate decisions of who they voted for. Interestingly, a CNN poll showed that exit polls today showed the top issues for voters. As you might guess, number one was the economy. 60% of voters that CNN polled said that was the most important factor. Healthcare coming in at not really a close second. That was at 17%. The deficit at 12%, and foreign policy rounding out at 4%. So we'll be back with some more national election coverage in just a bit. Right now, we'll toss it back to Mr. Mark O'Keefe and Vince Vasides.
Okay, welcome back to election 2012. We don't have any election results in. Typically, I think 9:30, is probably about the time when the first precincts might be trickling in, or maybe when they're able to post them, I should say, because it sounds like from Bill that they're starting to come in. But I think one of the things is that Pennsylvania is very crucial for the election, 20 electoral votes, and typically it seems to always come down to Pennsylvania, Ohio, and Florida, and whoever can win 2 out of those 3 states. Can win, and if somebody is able to get all 3, then that's really it. And early on in the polls, Obama did have a lead, somewhat considerable, but Mitt Romney did put a lot of time and effort into Pennsylvania, and it did seem like he was able to close the campaign. Kind of interesting, only one Republican has won the presidency without capturing Pennsylvania since Richard Nixon in 1968. And no Democrat has won the presidency without taking Pennsylvania since Harry Truman in 1948. And no Republican has taken Pennsylvania since George H. Bush in 1988. But also Fayette County in southwestern Pennsylvania was a stronghold actually for John McCain back in 2008 when he ran against Barack Obama. So you have to figure that Governor Romney has to do very well in southwestern Pennsylvania, here in Fayette, Greene, Washington, Westmoreland, Somerset. Back in 2008, McCain got 26,669 votes to Obama's 25,509 tallies in Fayette County, but the first Republican to win in Fayette County since Nixon beat George McGovern back in 1972. As Vince corrected me, we had a story in the Herald Standard today saying 68, but it was actually 72.
And McCain last election.
Right. Yeah, and then McCain last election. McCain got 86 more votes than Obama in Greene County, and took Washington County, won by 51% of the votes. And voters in Westmoreland and Somerset overwhelmingly went for McCain, giving him 58 and 61% respectively. And Allegheny County did go for Obama, giving him 57% of the votes cast. So what's your feel about, you know, how Fayette County is going to go in this presidential election?
Well, I think Fayette County will go, the trend of 4 years ago will continue, and it probably will also widen and probably be in favor of Governor Romney. That's my gut feeling from talking to different people. I think it's more of a geographic thing. It was a bright spot today. The turnout, I think, really was encouraging compared to the last couple elections. It's been low. I think it's in the 50 plus, maybe 60% range, and that's very encouraging to have that kind of turnout. But geographics, I think, is going to play a big factor in this. Pennsylvania, geographically, is you have the western part of the state, which is a geographic area that tends to vote very closely aligned. Then you have the T in the center part of Pennsylvania. Then you have the Philadelphia and the bedroom counties of Philadelphia. So as those votes come in, as in Ohio, the geographics plays there. In Virginia, the geographics, it'll you know, that lead might switch back and forth until all the votes are counted. You also have geographics with the fact that you know, the Appalachian region of the country, Pennsylvania, Virginia, Ohio, going on down south, the Appalachian region will have an impact on who geographically will be chosen as president. And I think a lot of the geographics there plays into the coal regions of the country and where they stood in this race as well.
How big of a factor do you think the coal issue is going to be in here? Obama's taken a lot of criticism. Certain people claimed that he has a war on coal. Do you think that message kind of resonated with people here in Fayette County?
It I believe, resonated in the entire Appalachian region. West Virginia, obviously, has been called for Romney already, and you know, Pennsylvania. This portion of Pennsylvania, it'll factor in as one of the geographic and issue-oriented reasons why you know, why this part of the state may have voted differently than the eastern part of the state.
What do you think in terms, if it does turn out that Fayette County does support Governor Romney tonight, what do you think maybe are some of the implications of that? Because obviously Fayette County has been a Democratic stronghold. Do you see this as maybe just being an exception, or do you think that maybe the Republican Party, that we might have an actual two-party system here? You know, the Democrats have just dominated Fayette County for so long.
I think there's issues involved in people choosing certain candidates. It certainly is factored in this race, and obviously we haven't got the results yet, but I have a feeling about that, and probably did the last race to a degree, and for other various reasons. But I do think Fayette County is a Democratic county. Almost 3 to 1, 2.5 to 2.75 to 1 Democratic registration-wise over Republican, and I think it will continue to be. And you might see more of that in the local races. There will be some splitting of in this situation. You may only have about 20–25% that went straight Democratic, and the rest, you know, chose based on the merits.
And what do you think about the U.S. Senate race? And there you have Bob Casey Jr., whose father, Bob Casey, whenever he ran for governor, did tremendously well in Fayette County. I remember at one time, I think maybe it was the first time, he did better in Fayette County than he did in his home county up around Scranton. And Bob Casey, when he ran in 2006, whenever he beat Rick Santorum, won 65% of the vote here in Fayette County. Statewide, he got 58% of the vote, won by 17 percentage points over Rick Santorum. I don't think anybody's predicting that kind of a victory tonight. But, you know, how do you think that Bob Casey Jr. is going to do?
Well, I think he'll do well, and but there again, there are factors. His opponent is from Western Pennsylvania, which helps to a degree. But I do think Bob Casey will do well in this whole region. The polling I saw, he was ahead of his opponent, you know, pretty comfortably in Western Pennsylvania, as well as northeastern Pennsylvania and the Philadelphia area. The T of Pennsylvania, no. And I think he was slightly ahead in the northeast, or I'm sorry, the south, the northwest, I'm sorry, the Erie area. That
well, one thing that is interesting, though, too, like you said, kind of with Pennsylvania's geographics or whatever, I think there's, what, about 12 million people in Pennsylvania?
Yes,
probably, give or take a few. But I think somewhere I read, like, the Philadelphia has about 2 million people, and then the suburbs outside of Philadelphia, just these huge counties with over, you know, close to 1 million people, that in that whole area you have almost 4 or 5 million people, almost, not quite almost, almost half the whole state is in that area. So, and that is an area that Obama did do well in back in 2008. And you know, from what I was understanding, he has to be able to take a certain margin of victory out of there, because obviously in the T and central parts of Pennsylvania, he's probably going to lose those counties.
Turnout's going to be vital in the Philadelphia area. I think the last couple elections, it's been under 20%, believe it or not, and it has to be well above that this time. And from all indications that I've, little research I've done, it is pretty high turnout in the Philadelphia area, and also the bedroom counties. And that's been the biggest change in Pennsylvania in recent elections, or maybe the last decade, is the bedroom counties of Philadelphia have become more Democratic.
Right, more liberal. Yeah.
Bucks County may be a little bit of the exception. There's more of a trend, less of a trend, I should say, going Democratic.
Republican machine, I think, out in Bucks County there.
But years ago, they used to be totally dominated. Yeah. Like Fayette is registered, 3 to 1, 2.5 to 1 Democratic. They were the same Republican, but that's balanced, more balanced now, and they're trending Democratic. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. But turnout's going to be the key. Certain regions will offset other regions in Pennsylvania. And I think trend will go through to a degree on these statewide races, depending on what happens with the presidential race.
Yeah. What do you think about the local races? As mentioned before, you have the 9th Congressional District now, which had been the most Republican district in all of congressional district in all of Pennsylvania. And even though it now does include more of Fayette and Greene and Washington, more Democratic votes, I think it still is the most Republican district. And it's just kind of a weird situation where Fayette County is now thrown in with primarily Republican district. It's a very conservative type of area, southern, Pennsylvania. The district is wide. It goes out, I think, almost out to Harrisburg. So how do you see this race? What do you think of Bill Schuster? He's put some time and effort into trying to win Fayette County. Do you think he has a chance of winning here?
Yes, I think when you look at the presidential race and his race, he's more known locally, and I think he'll do rather well for that reason. He's worked with some of the elected officials in the county, the local government officials in the district that he previously represented, which was more the mountain area, Fayette County, and some of the lower lands near the mountains, always stretching out to the southern end of Fayette County. Now he has the whole county, as you had said, Mark, but I think that he's had a track record here to a degree, and I think that will benefit him, in this race.
Okay, we're going to toss it back to Dave now and see what Dave has in store for us.
Well, thank you, Mark. A lot of polling places in many states closing at 9 o'clock p.m., so the results for the national election are just rolling in. ABC News actually projecting that Obama will win Pennsylvania. Fox News projecting that Obama has won Pennsylvania, so we will continue to bring you up-to-the-minute updates on that. The electoral votes, as it stands currently, Romney is said to have 152, while Obama has 123. And those are just projections. As you may know, 270 electoral votes are needed for the win. Obama projected to win Connecticut, Delaware, Illinois, Maine, Maryland, Massachusetts, New Jersey, Rhode Island, and Vermont. He's also, interestingly, projected to win Michigan, which is Governor Romney's native state and the state where Romney's father formerly served as governor. President Obama projected to win New Jersey as well as New York. For Governor Romney, projections are Alabama, Georgia, Kentucky, Oklahoma, Tennessee, Indiana, Mississippi, South Carolina, and West Virginia. Those are believed to be sealed up for Governor Romney. He is also projected to win Kansas and Louisiana, North Dakota, South Dakota, Texas, and Wyoming. We talked a little bit about some exit polls. Interestingly enough, the Washington Post found that the electorate this year is slightly more Republican than in 2008. And those are based on preliminary results of some exit polling that was done across the country. 7 in 10 voters said that they made their mind about their candidate before September. Found that particularly interesting because we've seen in recent days some comments, the race is swinging, one way or another, but as the exit polls have shown, aren't that many undecided voters. We mentioned that the economy was the top issue for many voters that were surveyed. 60% of voters said that was the single most important issue. CNN found that 24% of individuals surveyed said that their family's financial situation was better today as opposed to 2008 at the last presidential election. 34% said it was worse, and 41%, which is the largest proportion, said that their economic financial situation for their family was the same. But again, that is just one poll. As far as local exit polls, we had the pleasure of meeting, as I said, and greeting lots of voters throughout the day at several polling places here in Fayette County. And let's take a look and see what some of the voters said that their most important or most relevant issues were.
From around the county, these are some of the most important issues to our local voters. What do you think some of the most important issues are, the ones that resonate the most with you?
Well, yeah, current economy going down, debt and things like that. I don't like to see it. I don't want to leave my daughter with any unnecessary debt and things like that, and that really struck something in me. And plus the moral vote, so it really weighs heavy on me.
I just feel like because of all the debt that we're getting into, that it's really our choice to come out and be the one to change what the United States is going to be in the future. So,
well, I think Social Security, Medicare, and I try to look at all the issues, how they feel about all of those things, and then I just vote with my heart.
Other than the economy, obviously, it's the economy. The middle class is shrinking, and I've watched so much of the debates and so forth, and so much I agree with, that the government has to do something about the economy.
I think our individual liberty and freedom. I think that's been a standpoint of the Tea Party movement, and I think that's probably what's at our biggest risk right now as individuals, our individual liberties and freedom, and our founding principles of our country.
Not only the health care, because some of us are healthy and they don't think about those things, but I think some of the important issues is getting our country back to where we respect our country and the people that are in office more than anything.
For Fayette TV and HeraldStandard.com, I'm Dave Slusarik.
We'll have more updates very shortly. As we said, the polls just closed at 9 p.m. in 14 states. So for right now, let's throw it back to Mr. Mark O'Keefe. And former County Commissioner Vince Facilities with their special guest for the 9:30 p.m. segment.
Okay, welcome back. My name is Mark O'Keefe, and we have Vince Facilities, former Fayette County Commissioner. We also have Ken Hager, who's a political consultant. Ken, I think we do have some results in from Fayette County there.
We do have some results from the Election Bureau right now, and really what I find remarkable is that we have about a 51.5% turnout in Fayette County, which I think is really amazing. And whatever the outcome of tonight's election, I really think that speaks a lot to the citizens of Fayette County's engagement in the political process, the hard work done by both campaigns, the Republican and the Democrat committees here in Fayette County. And right now, we do have, Mitt Romney does have a slight lead of about 300 votes in the county. I know in 2008, McCain won by about 280. So right now we're seeing a lot of the same results that we saw in 2008, Mark.
Yeah, with 33% of the vote-in, so Mitt Romney leading 51% to 48%. So that would seem like that would be pretty much tracking with that. So I guess we'll be following that, even though they're saying that looks like Obama is going to win Pennsylvania,
Sure.
which kind of was to be expected. Well, let's see in Fayette County with 33% of the vote in. Bob Casey Jr. 6,401 over Tom Smith 5,445, 53% to 45%. Not near that 65% he got back in 2006 when he beat Rick Santorum, but still a healthy lead. And you would think that Tom Smith would probably need to do better in southwestern Pennsylvania than that in order to try and have any chance of upsetting Bob Casey Jr. Let's see if we...
And Mark, I have some of the results from the House race with Bill Schuster and Karen Ramsberg up right now. Off of CNN reporting right now, about 12% of precincts are reporting, so it's kind of hard to say. Right now, Bill Schuster, who's the incumbent, has 11,726 votes to Karen Ramsberg's 9,942. So a slight lead for Schuster across Pennsylvania 9 right now.
Yeah, and you have to think probably some of those counties are maybe smaller, maybe they'll be a little bit later reporting. It is interesting, though, here in Fayette County, where 33% of the vote in, again, Karen Ramsberg does have a lead of 6,225 over Bill Schuster, 5,501. So, and Vince, you were thinking that Schuster might be able to win Fayette County, and he's certainly within striking distance, but I think maybe that is, Karen Ramsberg really didn't spend any money. She didn't take any political donations, right, where Schuster definitely was spending money on a lot of radio ads and that sort of thing.
I think these races right now, I mean, you're only getting a snapshot, 33%. Yeah. That trend will probably continue to carry out and widen as it goes on. The one trend that is against the other two is Bob Casey actually winning by a comfortable margin versus the other two. Seems a little closer with Schuster and Ramsberg and actually Romney ahead.
Right.
So you can see the variances there. You can see that people are splitting their votes around, and that's an evident trend.
Let's take a look at the legislative races. In the 49th district, Pete Daly has, with 50% of the vote in, has 1,048 votes. Richard Musafir 484. Now, that district is heavily tilted towards Washington County. There's only, I believe, with maybe 10 precincts in Fayette County, somewhere around there.
In that range.
Yeah, and then you have for the 50th district, you have Pam Snyder with 1,110, and this is with 44% of Fayette County's precincts. Mark Fisher 402. I think that was probably expected. The areas in Fayette County are heavily Democratic: Masontown, Point Marion, and Brownsville. And in the 51st legislative district, Tim Mahoney, Democrat, has an overwhelming lead over Republican Gary Gearing, 2,497. Gary Gearing, 1,315, leading 66% to 34%. We also have in that 59th district, Mike Reese, the Republican incumbent, has 273 votes. The Democratic challenger, Harriet Ellenberger, has 130 votes. And that district is heavily tilted towards Westmoreland County. I think a couple of precincts in Boleskine Township and Salt Lake Township are all that's in Fayette County. So kind of not really too many surprises there. Kind of look at the, just real quick at the state races. Attorney General in Fayette County, Kathleen Kane, has 7,173 votes. David Freed has 4,380, so she has a pretty sizable lead there. Let's see. State Treasurer, Rob McCord has 6,567 votes to Diana Irie Vaughn has 4,710. Diana Irie Vaughn, you kind of thought maybe would do a little bit better being from Washington County, but McCord has a fairly decent lead there. Looking at Auditor General, you have Eugene DePasquale, Democrat from New York County, has 6,407 votes, and John Maher, Republican from Allegheny County, has 4,893 votes. So kind of interesting. It seems like the Democrats down the ticket are doing pretty good, probably better than what President Obama is doing. So kind of as you indicated, some Democrats probably splitting their votes.
Yes, and in order to win statewide, the Democratic candidates on the ticket, there's only about 12 or so counties in Pennsylvania that are Democratic leaning or Democratic strongly situated, and they have to get their margin of votes in these counties to be able to overcome the other areas of Pennsylvania where they're they may not win. So that'll be interesting to see. I see some that are getting decent margins, and that hopefully will benefit them in their statewide race.
No, I during the last segment, we were talking a little bit about voter registration here in Fayette County, and I had pulled up some numbers on that recently. Right now, the Democrats in Fayette County make up roughly about 74% of registered voters in the county. And I really found remarkable that I broke down registration amongst voters, new voters registering, from 2009 until this year to see what the trend may have been after Fayette County went towards McCain in the 2008 election. And I found it remarkable that even though Republicans in the county-wide only make up about 25.8% of the registered voters, this year with new registered voters in the county, about 32.1% of them registered as Republican. So I think this year even marked more the fact that Fayette County may trend towards the Republican presidential candidate in the general election.
Just want to take a look here. We're getting want to take a look at some Greene County results, particularly that 50th legislative district where you do have the Greene County Commissioner, Pam Snyder, and with 1,000 or 100% of the vote in, she does have a lead over Mark Fisher, 4,424 to 3,194. Now, and Pam Snyder does have a lead in Fayette County that's even, I think, bigger than that. Now, we'll have to see what the vote is in Washington County, but again, that's a pretty heavily Democratic area there.
And there's only about 5 or 6 precincts.
So it would seem pretty likely that Pam Snyder probably is going to win that seat, which I think probably a lot of people thought was going to happen. Just to look at some of the other results there, Karen Ramsburg in the 9th Congressional District actually beat Bill Schuster in Greene County. She had 1,716 votes to Bill Schuster, 1,396. And looking at the U.S. Senator race, Tom Smith actually won in Greene County, 3,836 to Bob Casey, 3,635. And the presidential, back in 2008, John McCain won by 89 votes. Well, Mitt Romney won by over 1,000, 4,458 to Barack Obama's 3,142. So, okay, we're going to go back to Dave now.
Thank you, Mark. Do we have Bill Alexander on the line from the Election Bureau?
What was that, Snyder figures again?
While we're waiting for Bill.
You're going online.
Right now,
Bill
pretty much
Alexander.
what Mark and Vince has said pretty much is holding true across the county. I guess a couple of the races that everybody's looking close at, especially locally, deals with the race between Tim Mahoney and Gary Gearing, and also the other one to take over the seat of Bill DeWeese, with Pam Snyder's numbers coming in at 73% to the 26%. But overall, pretty much it's been hanging there about the same again, with Tim Mahoney at 65.50% and Gary Gearing at 34.50. Gives you the rundown. And of course, Tallulah, who is being not opposed, is at 100% of the voting. So again, it just pretty much, as everybody's been talking about so far this evening, no real surprises as of yet. Now, with the presidential election, which holds true due to the last election that we had for president, Mitt Romney right now is at almost 51%, while the President Barack Obama is at 48%, which is pretty much holding close to what it was at the previous election. But again, as we said, this is only 32 of the 98 precincts as of right now. So when we get more information coming in, we'll be more than happy to share it with you guys at the studio. So reporting for Fayette TV, this is Bill Alexander at the Fayette County Election Bureau.
Thank you, Bill.
Online. You're going online with Bill Alexander.
New Hampshire with 16% of the vote in. Obama leading there. Virginia with 53%. Romney in the lead with 51%. Florida is poised to be another tight race this year. Currently 82% of the vote in, and it is pretty much in a state of deadlock. Obama at 50% and Romney at 49%. Wisconsin, Nevada, Iowa also projected to be some of those battleground states, but not many results coming in yet for those states. At this time, we're going to send it back to Mark O'Keefe and Vince Vasides with their guest, Ken Hager.
Okay, thank you very much, Dave. So we're talking about the Fayette County results here. I just was taking a look at Washington County. They have, with 98 of 184 precincts, you have Romney there has a very sizable lead. He's winning 54 to 43%. Romney has 24,392. Barack Obama has 19,494. For the United States Senator, they have Tom Smith, 49%, Bob Casey Jr., 48%. So Tom Smith is winning in Washington County. And just to take a look at that, the 50th, the race there between Pam Snyder, and Pam has 383 votes to Mark Fisher, 184. So it definitely does seem like Pam Fisher is probably going to win that. In the 49th district, very close there. Richard Musafir, 3,188 to Pete Daly, 3,165. So it could be that Fayette County could be very influential for Pete Daly. He does have a sizable lead there. We don't know at this point how many votes are still left in that race.
It appears that some of those races, like in Greene and Washington County, the Republican candidates are doing better than expected.
Right.
So possibly, and this is just a analytical suggestion on my part, we might have had a higher turnout of Democrats in Fayette County, percentage-wise, to the Republicans, and that might be pushing us a little further ahead there. We'll know that at the end.
Right. And also in the 9th Congressional District, Karen Ramsberg is leading Bill Schuster with 55 to 43%, and that's a very interesting kind of development. Karen Ramsberg 2,894 to Bill Schuster's 2,272. It's going to be a miracle, though, if Ramsberg can even come close, because the district is just so heavily Republican in the middle of the state. So it will be interesting to see what happens, but I think that, you could probably safely say that Bill Schuster is going to probably win that election. But it's just interesting to see, how the different parts of that district are turning out.
How many precincts is that, Mark?
There was, I believe, about half.
Half.
I think they said 98 of 184, so maybe a little bit more than half.
Mm-hmm.
Mark, I think a lot of our viewers may be switching back and forth tonight, looking at some of the other states, especially Florida and Ohio. They're really close right now. I know that Governor Romney seemed to really have counted on Florida and fought a lot in Ohio the last few weeks. And it's really interesting to see that President Obama right now is trending ahead of about 20,000 votes in Florida, with 84% of the precincts reporting. So it's going to be a really tight state again, maybe similar to the 2000 election. We would certainly hope that it wouldn't take as long for us to know who our president is going to be.
Right.
But I know that this is where a lot of our viewers are going to be looking at switching back and forth.
Right.
And North Carolina's in that same boat. It's very close there, which is unexpected. They had said that Romney was considered in the lead in North Carolina, but it seems like it's pretty close. But you may ultimately have one candidate winning the popular vote and another winning the Electoral College vote in the end of this thing.
I think a lot of pundits had commented that just might be the case, that Governor Romney may win the popular vote. And checking in with the popular vote right now, it seems that Governor Romney is ahead about 700,000 votes in the popular vote. But of course, it's going to come down to what states, which candidate takes home.
And it could be anywhere from 10 to 20 electoral vote difference, either way, depending on that swing of who wins these states that you're speaking of.
Of course, that's what happened back in 2000 when Al Gore won the popular vote, but George W. Bush won the Electoral College.
By 4 electoral votes.
It
was 271 to 267.
Yeah,
really
very, very close. So, yeah, you really hope that we don't get into having that type of, going into the courts and hanging chads and all that sort of thing, So.
Well, I think since that election, I think a lot of states have improved their voting systems, and hopefully that will not occur again. We updated our voting capability in Fayette County as a result of that, as other counties across the nation. So.
And looking into Ohio right now, President Obama seems to be ahead about 130,000 votes in Ohio, with 42% of the precincts in. So Ohio, another battleground, is trending towards President Obama.
That's a really diverse state. It's kind of like Pennsylvania and Virginia. The geographics plays very heavy. In Ohio, they said that if President Obama did well in Hamilton County, near Cincinnati, that would give him a better chance of winning Ohio. I don't know what the results of Hamilton County are, but the eastern part of Ohio is in that Appalachian region, which is, that I spoke earlier.
Some coal miners and that sort of thing in that area, but then other areas are affected more by the automobile industry. And of course, Barack Obama made a big deal about how he bailed out the automobile industry, and Governor Romney had said that he didn't think that was necessarily a good thing, but
you got diverse demographics going against each other in different ways. It's that way in a lot of states, especially these battleground states. If you look at them, the demographics is so uniquely different in each area. And
Right.
it's causing it to be a very close race.
Right.
Vince, looking into to some of the counties here I have brought up in Ohio, in Hamilton, which you just mentioned, where Cincinnati is, President Obama is ahead right now about 19,000 votes. In Franklin County, where the seat of Columbus is, President Obama is ahead almost 90,000 votes there.
That's in the center part of
Yeah.
Mhm.
And in Cuyahoga County, where Cleveland is, President Obama is ahead by about 100,000 votes. So quite a lead there as well. And some of the bigger cities are.
You would think that he would be able to do pretty well in Cleveland.
Yes, yes.
It would be some of the other areas where he would have more difficulty. I think Cincinnati's always been kind of it's more southern, so it's kind of more conservative than than Cleveland. So,
I don't know what percentage you're in from Hamilton and Columbus, but that is not a very, I mean, depending on the percentage, it doesn't seem like it's that great of a lead at this point, but it might be a small percentage.
Well, I think the thing is, though, is in Ohio, the polls do close at 7, so
Yeah, you would think.
you might have more votes kind of being tallied than in Pennsylvania, where
this
where the
point.
polls don't close till 8 o'clock.
They have an hour ahead.
Right.
And
Right.
Ohio also has the early voting,
Right.
unlike our state. So
Right.
a lot of, in watching some of the news channels, almost 1.5 million votes were already cast before Election Day. And President Obama was certainly counting on a large turnout as the early voting tends to trend for the Democratic candidates.
You think there'll be ever a chance we'll have early voting in Pennsylvania there, Vince?
Well, that's a trend across the nation, and I think Pennsylvania legislature has to look at that in the future. You know, with the declining amount of people voting in elections, like, for instance, 51% is good. It's an improvement over the 30%, under 30% range the last couple elections, but in 4 years ago, it was almost 57%. So we've lost 6%. If that holds, so that trend of 51% holds, it's still less than last election. So we need to find ways to make it convenient to vote without, you know, protecting the sanctity of in making sure there's no type of voter fraud, but you have to make it easier for people to vote if you can.
Right. Well, and you have to kind of wonder, though, in Fayette County, it didn't seem like there was really a whole lot of great enthusiasm for either candidate, to be quite frank about it. I mean, I think certainly Republicans were all for Governor Romney, and Democrats were for Obama, but I don't really think it was like that much, like, you know,
Ohio.
just
Yes.
like excitement, you know, about it for whatever reason, probably a number of reasons, but, you know, I think maybe in other states or whatever, maybe there was more enthusiasm than there was here in Fayette County.
It seemed like it didn't catch fire in Pennsylvania as a whole till the last week. And then it really got interesting. Some of the polling suggested it was dead even.
Right.
But then other polls said it was a 5 or 6 point lead, so it's somewhere in between, I would think, and it may end up that way.
Okay, we're going to go to Matthew Dowling right now. Matt?
Presidential elections are always held on the first Tuesday of November, with this year being no exception. This comes from a tradition when the American economic system was supported mostly by agricultural nature. In the American electoral system, the popular vote is not what necessarily elects the president. Instead, a system of electoral college is used.
The Electoral College enforces the principle of federalism, that is to say, state power.
What the Electoral College does, in essence, is force presidential candidates to compete in individual states, to learn about the interests of the various states, to build those concerns into their platform.
It prevents the candidates from campaigning only in the large media markets, which is what would happen if we got rid of the Electoral College.
The Electoral College is a constitutional mandate on how we choose the President of the United States.
How does it function? That's where it starts to get kind of interesting and complicated.
On the ballot, looks like people are voting directly for the President or the Vice President. They aren't.
Instead of just choosing them by popular vote throughout the country, each state has a number of electoral votes. Then whoever wins the plurality in that state gets all the electoral votes. And then whoever then has a majority of the electoral votes becomes president.
The Electoral College is a quirky system, to be sure. Very few nations of the world have anything like it. Generally speaking, nations rely on direct popular election to choose their national leaders, their presidents, their prime ministers.
The American people, to the extent that they understand the Electoral College, they view it as a weird device.
Even my fellow political scientists often have a hard time understanding it, and I do too.
Those electors go to the Electoral College and cast their vote for the winner of the popular vote in their state.
I was an elector in 2004. The people in my community voted overwhelmingly Democratic. In the state of Connecticut, that was Carrie Ann Edwards. So it was the Democratic Party electors that went forward to cast their votes.
If the United States is a country both of people and of states, then the Electoral College is a better gauge of that national opinion than it would be if it was simply a popular vote.
As we know, there is traditionally a period of time between November and January where a transition takes place. This gives time in modern days for the president who's been elected to put together his cabinet. Historically speaking, there were two reasons for this period of time. The Electoral College, as we've just discussed a little bit, needed to take time to elect the president. And in the case that the Electoral College would be unable to elect a president, the House of Representatives would need to be convened, and they would take that task over in electing who the president would be.
You, Lyndon Baines Johnson, do solemnly swear.
I, Lyndon Baines Johnson, do solemnly swear.
That you will faithfully execute.
That I will faithfully execute.
The office of the Presidency of the United States.
The office of the Presidency of the United States.
And those are the words that every American president has said or repeated in taking the oath of office at their inauguration. And on a cold winter's morning this January, either Barack Obama or Mitt Romney will be taking the oath of office and repeating those very same words. This year marks the 57th U.S. presidential election, dating back to 1789, when George Washington was elected as President of the United States. And as we know, at that point in time, African Americans and women had not yet been given the right to vote. American elections have definitely come a long way since that point in time. Former President Ronald Reagan said this of the electoral process.
In the eyes of many in the world, this every 4-year ceremony we accept as normal is nothing less than a miracle.
Presidential elections in the United States have never been postponed or suspended, which is quite a feat if you look about the globe at the electoral process in other cultures. I have a couple dates that I'd like to mention to you. In 1864, in the middle of the American Civil War, we were able to have a presidential election. And then again in 1932, what we consider the midst of the Great Depression, a presidential election took place as well. Historically, most U.S. presidential elections have been seen as undisputed and very fair, with maybe one notable exception, and that was back in the year 2000, only 12 years ago, when Al Gore was running against George Bush, and the Supreme Court needed to end a dispute over the tabulation of votes in the state of Florida. Now, U.S. elections have gone up in cost and the time spent campaigning with almost every election, this year being no exception. Regardless of who wins the election this evening and who takes office or continues to serve in January, they will be doing so in the midst of some international turmoil and what many would say is a hard economic time within the United States. They will have only 4 years to make a difference or to make some change. until the electoral process starts over again. For Fayette TV and theheraldstandard.com, at the Fayette County Courthouse, I'm Matthew Dowling.
Okay, welcome back. We have some election results updated. We now have 52% of the precincts in for Fayette County, and it does look like a good night for the Republicans. We have Ken Hager, who's a political consultant. We also have Charmaine Sampson, who's been probably a stalwart of the Republican Party here in Fayette County.
Yes, for many years.
This has to be good news for you. I'm sure Mitt Romney has 11,532 votes, 54%, where Barack Obama has 9,664 votes, 45%. So even though it looks like Obama's probably going to win Pennsylvania, it looks like Romney's going to win Fayette County, and this will be the second consecutive election, where the presidential election, where the Republican has won, after Republicans hadn't won here since back in 1972. When Richard Nixon beat George McGovern. So how does this probably, what do you think? I'm sure the Republican Party put a lot of effort.
They did, and Russ Rhodes and his committee really need to be commended, because I know they went out, they did a lot of door-to-door, they did a lot of phone calling, they were putting signs everywhere, and we were very fortunate about 6 weeks ago to have Congressman Schuster be our keynote speaker at our annual dinner, and we had Rob Gleason, who's the chairman of the state Republican committee, come down and make a great presentation. And we had a lot of Democrats at that dinner who were interested in hearing what Mr. Schuster had to say. So not only has it been an all Republican support, it is crossing lines, and that's a good sign.
Right. And I think you did pick up some numbers in the voter registration.
Yes, we did.
The last.
We did.
So, and Fayette County has been so lopsided Democrat.
Right.
And a lot of people over the years said that, then the Democrats would take Fayette County for granted and Republicans would figure out why bother. So it would really, I think, be good and beneficial for Fayette County to have a real two-party system. And also looking at the United States Senate race, very close there. Bob Casey Jr., although I think he has been declared the winner, but it's not going to be very easy for him here in Fayette County right now. With 68% of the vote in, he has 14,167, 50%, where Tom Smith has 13,847. That's a far cry from back in 2006 when Bob Casey Jr. had won 65% of the vote. So what do you think was the reason for it being so much closer?
I think sometimes people forget about Fayette County and southwestern Pennsylvania in general. I mean, we really didn't have too many candidates floating around the area, and I heard this evening on the radio, on the television, that Mr. Romney came into Pittsburgh and just kind of waved from the plane. So I don't know how you're going to garner any votes if you're just going to wave from the plane.
Right.
So right. I think that people forget that being mostly a blue-collar area, people do go out and vote, and that they realize that's their privilege, and they take that for granted, and they're very serious about it.
Right.
So I think sometimes that makes a difference.
And Charmaine, I wanted to remark too that I really think that despite what that you might see nationally, a lot of young people in our county really trend towards more conservative candidates, more Republican candidates. As a young person myself, the Young Republicans group around here has been really strong. And in my research, I was sharing earlier some of the changes in voter registration amongst the county in the past 4 years. I found it remarkable that among voters 18 years of age to 24 years of age, that's actually the largest percentage of registered Republicans among voters in our county. With those numbers, we have about 5,000 voters in that age group of 18 to 24. 31.6% of them are registered Republicans, and as the largest group, it certainly is an interesting trend to look at, that young people are looking at more conservative candidates in our county, and you can see with the election results of trending that way.
I think years ago when people when I was 18 and I registered to vote, everybody in my family was all Democratic, and I registered Republican. And when I went home, and my dad said, well, did you register to vote? And I said, yes, I registered Republican. Well, he was a coal miner and a union man, so that was kind of unheard of that his daughter would register Republican. And everybody said it was because of where I worked, but that had nothing to do with it. That's just the way I felt. And I think nowadays that's what happens to that young generation like you're in.
Yeah, you don't have the influence of the unions and the UMW and groups like that has certainly diminished over the years. So it will be interesting to see what the future brings for Fayette County. And like I said, maybe we'll have a real two-party system here, which would be, I think, a good thing. Looking at the in the 9th Congressional District, and that was 68% of the vote in. Bill Schuster has 51% of the vote to Karen Ramsburg's 49%. Bill Schuster has 14,030 and Karen Ramsburg 13,695. I think this probably would say a lot for Bill Schuster if he's able to win Fayette County.
And Mark, looking across Pennsylvania 9 here, even outside of Fayette County, that trend continues for Congressman Schuster. Right now, across Pennsylvania 9, he has 67,438 votes compared to Karen Ramsburg's 43,236. So with 44% of the precincts reporting, Schuster has a 61% lead across Pennsylvania 9. So I think that Schuster's going to be able to count this in the bag pretty soon.
But I will give him a lot of credit, and there was a lot of concern when he first came in because he was from Hollidaysburg, which is out near Altoona, and you're like wondering what the heck is this guy going to do, and how much, and particularly since we are a Democratic county when most of the other district is more Republican. But I will give him credit because he did come here, and he did, he came to the newspaper, spoke to us several times. I know he came to the chamber, had some events he spoke at, and he did really seem to try and make an effort. And now with this election cycle, with him now taking in all of Fayette County and parts of Greene and Washington counties, but it's still, again, it's like we're still kind of small potatoes compared to the rest of the district. But he's really made an effort. I think he really wants to win Fayette County.
Oh, I think he does too.
So that he can show that a Republican can win here.
A couple times I ran into him on the sidewalk and I'd say, where are you going? And he'd say, I'm going to the newspaper.
Yeah.
And I thought, uh-oh, he has to go face the editorial board. That's worse than death. But he kept his foot in Fayette County, and whenever he came to the mountains, he would call the Republican Party and say, hey, I'm going to be here, come on up, and we would go up. And he's very conscientious. He knows what he has to do, and he knew that he had to
it's going to be
put his whole body, not just a foot.
Very interesting too, because he's in line. There's a possibility that he could be chairman of the House Transportation Committee.
Yes, I heard that.
That his dad was chairman for a number of years, and I was reading a story. I think it was in the Washington Post or somewhere where they were talking about this. He's made a lot of friends. Paul Ryan is one of his kind of allies in the House, and so there's a good possibility that he could get that, and that could mean good things for Fayette County.
Some more money to fix our roads.
Right,
which need fixed.
Right. No, that's a plum of that's a heck of a position to get. So that certainly would be a feather in his cap. So let's look at the just real quick here the local legislative races now. With 88% in the 49th district, Peter Daly has 2,030, 64% Richard Musafir, 1,159. As we were looking at that race earlier in Washington County, that was tied pretty much. But now Pete Daly with a 1,000-vote lead, it may be that Fayette County puts Pete Daly back in the back in the State House of Representatives. And just looking at Pam Snyder with 75%, 2,300. To Mark Fisher, 829. It doesn't seem too good for Mark Fisher. He already lost in Greene County and was losing in Washington County. Tim Mahoney, Democratic incumbent in the 51st Legislative District, 6,408. To Gary Gearing, Republican, 3,970. And in the 59th, you have Mike Reese, the Republican incumbent, 1,211. to Harriet Ellenberger with 482. So, but overall, you know, I think Republicans certainly have to be pretty pleased, particularly with the presidential race where,
I think so.
where you have the lead, and some of these other races. I think one of the, well, we'll get back to this. We'll get a toss it to Dave right now.
Before we delve into some more national headlines and our national races, we want to take a moment to thank our sponsors for this evening's broadcast, Fred Ziegler and the folks at the Stonehouse Restaurant located in Farmington up the Summit Mountain. So let's take a minute to recognize our sponsors.
Tonight's broadcast has been sponsored in part by Fred Ziegler of the Stonehouse Restaurant. Fayette TV thanks Fred and the restaurant for their support of community television. Join the Stonehouse Restaurant on November 22nd for family-style Thanksgiving from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. The menu will include roasted turkey, ham, green bean, casserole, homemade stuffing, cranberry relish, buttermilk, mashed potatoes, gravy, candied sweet potatoes, and more, all served family style. Or try Thanksgiving to go, available from 11 till 5, with serving sizes for 4 to 6 people. Call to reserve your space or your takeout today. 724-329-2020.
What do I do in December?
What will you do in December? Hopefully you will.
Have yourself a merry little Christmas.
The jazzy tunes and sultry voice of Melissa Manchester are the perfect remedy to beat the winter blues. After all,
Christmas time is here.
December 15th at the State Theater.
At theheraldstandard.com, our mission is to provide news, information, and services to enable our communities to prosper. Every day, we strive to achieve this goal through 3 dynamic products. Wake up each morning to a copy of the heraldstandard.com newspaper delivered to your home. Enjoy the e-edition and exact replica of our print product on your computer, tablet, or smartphone. Or secure unlimited access to our full-coverage digital news site online at heraldstandard.com. One local news leader, 3 great options.
Fayette TV and theheraldstandard.com proudly bring you live election night coverage, hosted by heraldstandard.com executive editor Mark O'Keefe, co-hosted by Fayette TV personality David Slesarek, with updates from the Fayette County Election Bureau by talk radio host Bill Alexander, and a special report from the Fayette County Courthouse by Matthew Dowling.
Good evening. It's David Slesarek from Fayette TV, co-hosting this evening with Mark O'Keefe, theheraldstandard.com. We're going to go at this time to our friend Bill Alexander at the Fayette County Election Bureau to find out our up-to-minute coverage there at the Election Bureau. Bill?
Well, right now we're at 67 of 98 precincts have been turned in so far. And right now we have about 31.93% of voters turnout in Fayette County, which is actually lower, I think, than many anticipated. But looking at the numbers again, a lot of this looked very similar to the last election in 2008, when you had John McCain taking the county, because right now Mitt Romney is leading in the county by a total of 54% to 45% for the president. And another thing that's interesting, too, even though the state of Pennsylvania has been called by some of the major news organizations for the U.S. Senator, Tom Smith is actually only about 1 percentage point behind Bob Casey in Fayette County. Now, I know it's a big state, but again, very interesting to see that Tom Smith and Bob Casey are running neck and neck in the county. Looking for Attorney General, we have Kathleen Kane, who's at 57%, and David J. Freed at 40%, and it looks like the whole Penn State Jerry Sandusky scandal may have actually affected his voting turnout this year. And also looking at Auditor General, DePasquale is at 50%, while Republican John Mayer is at 45%. And another one for state treasurer, which again, an individual close to us in Washington County, former Commissioner Diane Irie Vaughn, is at 43%, while Robert M. McCord, Democrat, is at 52.91%, and of course, Patricia M. Friedman, Libertarian, is at 3.78%. And then we have the other race that we're looking for that's been redistricted for the 9th District between Schuster and Randsburg in Fayette County. Schuster is taking the lead right now at 51%, while Randsburg has 49%. And on the other race that everybody's looking at closely in the county, we have Pam Snyder leading Mark Fisher, who is for the former Representative Bill DeWeese's seat, at 74% to 26%. And then, of course, Gary Gearing right now is at 38%, and Timmy Mahoney with a strong lead at 62%. So again, not really many surprises in the county. Numbers fluctuating a little bit, but pretty much what everybody's predicting for the county, the way it was going to look, that's the way it's turning out tonight. So very interesting to see what happens. However, again, we're at 67 of the 98 precincts already counted, so I don't think it's going to be a very long night, at least not in Fayette County for right now. So reporting from the Fayette County Election Bureau, I'm Bill Alexander for Fayette TV.
Online. You're going online with Bill Alexander.
Thank you, Bill. And just a quick update on the Electoral College and where it stands with our presidential race. ABC News right now allocating 163 to Governor Romney and 157 votes to President Obama. CNN also giving Governor Romney the lead currently at 158 electoral votes, and Obama just behind him at 147. So looking to be a close race. One of the most recently called states, Utah, with six votes for Romney. One state that has an interesting turnout this year, although some predicted this to be the case, Indiana. Indiana was a state that went for Barack Obama in 2008. This year, Governor Romney, the projected winner in that state. Indiana has 11 electoral votes, and it was a decisive win for Governor Romney there, 56% to 42% for President Obama. Currently, there is 71% of the vote in. So once again, Indiana projected for Governor Romney. We're going to send it back to executive editor of theheraldstandard.com, Mark O'Keefe, with his guests Ken Hager and Charmaine Sampson.
Okay, we're welcome back. My name is Mark O'Keefe, and we're here tonight. We have Charmaine Sampson, Republican Party stalwart there for many years. We also have Ken Hager, who's a political consultant. And Ken, you were talking about there's kind of a nearby congressional race that has certainly a lot of interest. You want to talk about that race?
Sure. A lot of our voters are aware that we had redistricting in Pennsylvania, and you may be interested about Congressman Mark Kritz, who we would have voted for in the last election. Right now he's facing off in PA 12 with Keith Rothfuss. Right now, as that race stands, about 46% of precincts reporting. Rothfuss has a lead of about 900 votes. Right now, Rothfuss has 76,338 votes, and Kritz has 75,971 votes. So that's going to be one that our viewers may want to pay attention to, but it certainly right now looks like it's going to go into the wee hours of the night.
There's so many commercials on TV for that race, it kind of felt like we were in that district.
Yes, right.
And a lot of people were familiar with Mark Kritz, having served the last 2 years, and he succeeded Congressman John Murtha, won a special election, and then had to run in the general election just months later. So.
Well, he's a hometown guy.
Right, from Johnstown, and I think his dad was from Uniontown.
Yes,
right?
yeah, he still has an aunt who lives over on Walnut Street, I believe it is. And when he comes to town, he always goes to see her.
Right. Yeah, he was a pretty, I thought, pretty down to earth type of guy. So that will be very interesting to see if he's able to. He did have a couple pretty close elections there when he first got into to office. It'll be interesting. I think a lot of people thought he was going to lose in the primary to Altmaier, but he was able to win, so we'll see how it goes for him there. Do you have anything else that you're looking at there? We're kind of still waiting to get some more results from Fayette County.
Yeah, Mark, I have brought up some of the other races across the country as our viewers may be flipping back and forth from some other news stations. I hope you stay with us with this. We will be covering these. Right now in Florida, one of the big battleground states that Governor Romney was really counting on early in the game. Right now, President Obama is ahead by about 38,000 votes, with 86% of the precincts reporting in. So Florida, of course, was a big player in the 2000 election. I think it's going to be again here. Right now in Virginia, Virginia does seem to be breaking in Governor Romney's way. Right now, he has a lead of about 90,000 votes. Ohio, where everyone has been looking at in the past few weeks, President Obama does have a lead right now of about 100,000 votes in Ohio. And of course, we were looking at.
Do we know how many votes or what percentage that is? Or
that's with 51% of the precincts reporting in, so about half. And we're really looking at some of the big counties down near Cincinnati, Butler County, Hamilton County, also in Cleveland, where President Obama really campaigned heavily in Cuyahoga County, was really counting on having a big turnout there for him. So. Wisconsin, where the vice presidential candidate Paul Ryan is from, there isn't very many precincts reporting right now. We only have 15% in, but Governor Romney does have a very slight lead of about 30,000 votes in Wisconsin. But we're going to be following that all night, I'm sure.
Right.
What about some of those Eastern Shore states, New Jersey, Connecticut, those states where they have the bad weather and...
Yeah, Charmaine, I'd be interested to see really whenever it comes down to it of how turnout was affected by Hurricane Sandy.
Right.
I know that a lot of those states were called early on, and I think we expected some of those states to be called for President Obama early, but whether Hurricane Sandy had an impact on voter turnout overall, I'd be really fascinated to see those numbers.
I imagine it would, considering lack of transportation, lack of lighting, and
power and all that
you
sort
can't
of thing.
go far when there's a boardwalk sitting in your front yard.
Yes.
What did you guys think of how did Obama? You think that the hurricane that maybe that hurt Romney or helped him, or what? Just how Obama was. I mean, it was kind of crazy to have something so just kind of out of the blue happen right in the week before the election.
Sure. I think probably a majority of voters had their minds made up before then. But I think President Obama, during Hurricane Sandy, really took time to ensure that he was in the media, visiting a lot of the sites that were hit, or at least the states that were hit. I think that it gave him an opportunity to show his leadership as the president. I think it also deflected a lot of what he was seeing in the media concerning the embassy attacks, and it gave President Obama a chance to move things way back here to domestic issues, to his response to that emergency. And I really think that Hurricane Sandy ended up helping Obama. Whether that is going to take the election one way or another, I'm not sure, but I'm sure that voters saw President Obama showing leadership there.
Well, you just have to wonder, with it being so close and with this election, that almost anything could, in effect, tilt it one way or another. A few thousand votes here or there, and that's pretty much all that he needed.
I think some of the New Jersey area where it had the worst damage, excuse me, some of those people may be. Well, I know they're mad because you hear that on the news all the time because they're not getting the assistance that they need as quick as they should. You hear these horror stories about FEMA has generators and all this other stuff that they're not getting down to those people. So that may deter some of them from voting for the current president, thinking that he was there and then he left and nothing has been done. So that's another side of the coin.
Well, it is kind of interesting that it does seem that Greene and Washington counties also were voting for Obama, or for Governor Romney tonight, by margins more so probably than what they voted back in 2008. But yet, so it does almost seem like southwestern Pennsylvania may be turning more conservative and more Republican, but yet it looks like Obama probably is going to win Pennsylvania tonight. What do you think is the reason behind that, or what does Pennsylvania, and also it's interesting because we do have a Republican governor, we also have Republicans control the state Senate, Republicans control the state House, but yet for some reason the presidential, like we said before, the Republicans haven't been able to win Pennsylvania since 1988. So what are some of your thoughts about that, and what do Republicans maybe need to do to try and turn that around?
You know, Mark, I think that the Republicans this year really pushed the coal issues. That resonated a lot with southwestern Pennsylvania, with West Virginia. We can see that entire coal belt trending Republican in this election. Right now, Governor Romney is leading by almost 2,000 votes. He led by only 200 votes at the conclusion of the 2008 election. We can see a big shift right there. But overall, it seems that perhaps in our area, when it comes to President Obama, I'm not sure if voters are looking at more the economic side, of more of the social side of some of the agenda items that those candidates stood for. I know that economics was overall one of the main focal points of this election. And with the push for a lot of gas drilling around here, with Marcellus, with coal, Mitt Romney definitely had those issues in his corner for this race.
Mm-hmm. Is that what you were pretty much hearing?
Yes, yes, I was. But I also think that from Harrisburg east, you have all those Democrats over there, and Philadelphia and all those surrounding areas around there. They're democratically important, and I think they carry a lot of weight in the state. And I think that it's almost like a house divided. You have the more blue collar east of the state, and then the west of the state, and then the white collar east of the state, because of all the industry and whatever you have over there in southeastern Pennsylvania. So I think that makes a difference.
Well, it did definitely seem that Governor Romney definitely did spend a lot of money in Pennsylvania, particularly in the last month. Do you think maybe that he should have maybe spent more earlier? It almost seemed like there for a while that he had almost kind of more or less given up on Pennsylvania, that they're in the early leads, and Obama, I believe, won Pennsylvania by 10 points back in 2008. And it did seem that he had to lead. Do you think maybe they should have been a little more aggressive sooner?
Yeah, I know that a lot of commentators had said that Pennsylvania seems to be the Republican death trap at the end of the campaign. McCain made a big push here at the end of 2008. Whether that's because his campaign was flailing at that moment. I think that Governor Romney may have believed that he did stand a good chance in Pennsylvania. We saw that big rally out in Bucks County with over 30,000 voters that came out for Governor Romney this week. But when I'm looking right now at Philadelphia County, President Obama has a 500,000 point lead, or 500,000 vote lead there.
That's pretty difficult.
Right.
Just as Charmaine said, when you consider our eastern counterparts, it really trends towards the Democrats.
And I really think that a lot of politicians running for president or Congress or whatever forget about southwestern Pennsylvania, and we are voters. I mean, that's what's been ingrained in our head from the time we were little. That is your right to go vote, and people register and they go vote, and if you don't pay attention to them, they're not going to vote for you.
Right.
And I think that some of these politicians really need to.
Okay, we're gonna toss back to Dave now.
Well, thank you, Mark. We have some updates on your battleground states. CNN calling New Hampshire for President Obama. Still early, 24% of the vote in, but Obama with 54% and Romney at 44%. Again, that's one of the battleground states. Some of the heavy hitters, we still don't have definitive projections on those. Virginia has 66% of the electoral votes in. Romney is leading at 51%, with Obama at 48%. Florida is still pretty much neck and neck. Obama at 50 and Romney at 49. Wisconsin, only 17% of the vote in there. Romney up 51 to Obama's 48. Similar situation in Colorado with 52% of the voting in. Obama at 50% and Romney at 48%. Some of the other key battleground states to watch, Nevada, which of course no votes coming in just yet. Iowa and Ohio are starting to pour in. Ohio is one that a lot of pundits have their eye on. 58% of the vote is in currently, and Obama has a lead with 50%. Romney trailing behind at 48%. A few key Senate races, including our Pennsylvania race. Senator Casey is projected to have the win over Republican Tom Smith. This has been an interesting race. Tom Smith did pump about $17 million into this race. Some folks might not realize that Tom Smith was not the endorsed candidate of the Republican Party early on. Welsh was actually that candidate. Mr. Smith was heavily backed by the Tea Party movement, and it looks like he did not turn out the win this evening. A couple other heavily tracked Senate races. Elizabeth Warren, the Democrat, beating Massachusetts Senator Scott Brown, one of the most expensive and high-profile races this year, and again, Elizabeth Warren is projected to have the win. If you recall, Scott Brown was actually the replacement for the late Senator Ted Kennedy. CNN also projecting that Democratic Senator Claire McCaskill is going to hold on to her seat. Todd Akin was the Republican challenger there, and that was in the state of Missouri. We had heard earlier in our piece about the youth vote. We had a young man that we talked to out in Bullskin Township. It was his very first time voting, 18 years old. Some political science professors at Penn University are predicting actually that the youth turnout will be a little bit lower this year as compared to 2008. However, a contradictory report from the Tufts University Center for Information and Research said that 55% of 18 to 29-year-olds extremely likely, that was a direct quote, extremely likely to vote in this election. If that was truly the case, that would represent a 10% increase from that same group in 2008. So we'll give you some more national headlines as the evening progresses. Right now we're going to go to a short promotional break.
Tonight's broadcast has been sponsored in part by Fred Ziegler of the Stonehouse Restaurant. Fayette TV thanks Fred and the restaurant for their support of community television. Join the Stonehouse Restaurant on November 22nd for family-style Thanksgiving from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. The menu will include roasted turkey, ham, green bean, casserole, homemade stuffing, cranberry relish, buttermilk, mashed potatoes, gravy, candied sweet potatoes, and more, all served family style. Or try Thanksgiving to go, available from 11 till 5, with serving sizes for 4 to 6 people. Call to reserve your space or your takeout today. 724-329-2020.
What do I do in December?
What will you do in December? Hopefully you will.
Have yourself a merry little Christmas.
The jazzy tunes and sultry voice of Melissa Manchester are the perfect remedy to beat the winter blues. After all,
Christmas time is here.
December 15th at the State Theater.
At theheraldstandard.com, our mission is to provide news, information, and services to enable our communities to prosper. Every day, we strive to achieve this goal through 3 dynamic products. Wake up each morning to a copy of the heraldstandard.com newspaper delivered to your home. Enjoy the e-edition, an exact replica of our print product on your computer, tablet, or smartphone. Or secure unlimited access to our full-coverage digital news site online at heraldstandard.com. One local news leader, 3 great options.
Fayette TV and the HeraldStandard.com proudly bring you live election night coverage. Hosted by HeraldStandard.com Executive Editor Mark O'Keefe. Co-hosted by Fayette TV personality David Slesoric. With updates from the Fayette County Election Bureau by talk radio host Bill Alexander. And a special report from the Fayette County Courthouse by Matthew Dowling.
Our guest on this segment is Denise Robinson. Denise, you're from the
Business and Professional Women's Club.
Okay. So what were some of your thoughts maybe on the women vote and how women were looking at this election, and are you surprised by any of the results that we're seeing here?
No. President Obama, the first bill that he signed into law was the Lilly Ledbetter Equal Pay bill, and that's something that women have really stood behind him because of that, because that's how he started his presidency, stating that he was in favor of women getting equal pay. And that's something the business and professional women have been supporting and rallying for, and going to Harrisburg and talking to our legislators, going to Washington, D.C. So to actually have him start his presidency on that note was huge for the women of our country.
It's something like that. I mean, you just kind of think with so many women in the workforce today and doing all kinds of different jobs. I mean, you do have women who are running companies, who are executives, who are doing all kinds of amazing things. The idea that this equal pay thing is even an issue is just kind of mystifying.
I know, and so many people cannot believe that it still exists, but when they do the statistics, they're there. And in Fayette County, it's even, nationally, it's 77 cents that a woman makes to every dollar a man makes. But in Fayette County, it's even worse than that. Women in Fayette County are at 58 cents to every dollar a man makes. And, we've talked about it to professors, to the educational community, and everyone just seems to feel that it has to do with the types of jobs there are in our county, that there are a lot of jobs at the entry level that are just paying minimum wage. And because women get out of the workforce to have their families, then when they come back, they've got to go back and start again at the bottom of the pay scale. So there are a lot of issues that are affecting women, especially here in our county, that I think it's just making people aware of it so that employers will take that into consideration. I know they used to say, well, a man is the breadwinner in the family, so you need to pay him more than what you need to pay a woman. Well, nowadays we have so many single parent,
that are leading their families,
and some
right.
Exactly,
right.
That you really do need to look at a person on their individual merits rather than just are they a man or a woman.
Right.
So.
And I guess education is a big factor in that too. If the more educated these days, the more educated, generally speaking, the more educated you become, the better job you're going to get. So, and we probably do see some of that, but maybe not as much as in other areas.
Right. And like if you look at Allegheny County, there are a lot of opportunities in the Pittsburgh area, even in the Greensburg area. Fayette County and Greene County, we really do not have the opportunities that are there for women like they are in Westmoreland and Allegheny. So.
Okay, we got some more results here. We got with 96% of the vote in, Mitt Romney 23,239, and Barack Obama 19,792, 53% to 46%. That's a pretty good showing for Mitt Romney here in Fayette County. A lot of people predicted this. Even Fred Lebder, chairman of the Democratic Party, had said that in an interview with HeraldStandard.com, had said that he thought the coal issue would really hurt Barack Obama here in Fayette County, and that's definitely seems like what's happened back in 2008. It was pretty much, almost 50-50. He won by 1,000 votes. For here, he's going to win by 7%, and he's going to win probably by close to 4,000 votes there. Let's look at for the United States Senate race. We have Bob Casey Jr., who's always done well. He has 51% of the vote against Tom Smith, 48%. Certainly a far cry from the 65% that he won back in 2006. He has 21,874 to Tom Smith, 20,502. We'll see if we have a further update on the congressional race. In the 9th Congressional District, we have, it's very, very close. But Bill Shuster does have a lead now with 96% of the vote in. He has 20,992. Karen Ramsberg, 20,919.
Wow.
So almost like 80, I think 73 votes.
That's really close.
That's really close. Now, of course, Bill Shuster is going to win this race because the rest of the district is so heavily Republican. But it was interesting. Bill Shuster did spend a lot of time and money here in Fayette County, and obviously wanted to show that he could win a Democratic county. So I think that was kind of in the back of his head or whatever. So it looks like that's going to be very close. Again, as we talked about, we had 100% of the vote in the 49th district. Peter J. Daley, 2,145. Richard Musafra, 1,246. Talked about how that was tied basically earlier in the night in Washington County. So unless Musafra could get a lot of votes there, he probably was going to lose his challenge. And in 50th district now with 100% of the vote in, Pam Snyder, 3,125 to Mark Fisher, 1,232. As we talked about earlier, Pam Snyder won in Greene County, won in Washington County, so she will be the next, looks like she's going to be the next representative for the 50th legislative district. And Tim Mahoney just continues to pile up his lead with 91% of the vote in now, 11,047. 64%, Gary Gearing, 6,272, 91%, 36% of the vote. And then at 59th District, Mike Reese has 1,620, Harriet Ellenberger has 677. What, Denise, just talking about the, women that, how do you think, like particularly maybe the women of Fayette County were looking at this election? Did you think that women were excited to vote, or did you sense some excitement for Obama? Or obviously Mitt Romney did win Fayette County. Does that surprise you at all, or?
No, because I think that the more mature women looked at the economic issues. And, 4 years ago, Obama offered hope, and then we've gone through this terrible recession for the last 4 years, and we're just coming out of it. So I do think that Romney capitalized on that. And the other big issue in our county, I do believe, is the coal.
War on coal.
Yeah, the war on coal. I mean, I could not believe when I drove through Carmichael's about a month ago, those yard signs, it was like they were growing like grass in everybody's yard. I mean, that was huge in this area. I know even in my neighborhood there were 3 or 4 of those yard signs about the war on coal. And I think that was a big part of why Romney did so well here in Fayette County.
Right. Yeah, a lot of people had said that, although you do just kind of wonder. I mean, the number of coal miners has been going down for a long time. Back in the 40s and 50s, there probably were, tens of thousands more coal miners. So I'm not real sure how much of an impact this really has. And also now you do have the natural gas that industry, which will be definitely competing with coal. So it's coal industry certainly faces some challenging times, probably without the
without having a war
on coal.
Yeah.
So whether there is a war on coal or not, who knows? But apparently it did catch fire. It did seem to be somewhat of an issue here in Fayette County. So your thought was that a lot of maybe the mothers out there, the older women that really have had a very difficult past 4 years trying to make ends meet and trying to provide for the families. And like you say, a lot of women these days they're the head of the family. In a lot of cases, the women might be even making more than their husband, or even if they have a husband at all, and they're trying to raise a family. And particularly in places like Fayette County, where there's probably not a lot of options and not a lot of fancy careers out there. And
I mean, look at how many people have to drive to Greensburg or to Pittsburgh to get a better paying job. But I do think the natural gas industry is such a welcome addition to Fayette County that I've met some new women at some of the networking events that have moved here. I met a woman from Michigan that moved here. She bought a house. Her husband came down here with her. And that, to me, is encouraging.
Right, that's good, yeah.
To see that the natural gas companies are offering to bring their employees down here and relocate, I think that's wonderful for our area.
It's a tremendous opportunity. Okay, now we're going to go back to Dave.
Well, thank you, Mark. We have a report that Tammy Baldwin has become the first openly gay senator. Tammy Baldwin of Wisconsin, formerly a Democratic representative there, holding several terms. Also, another race to report. We mentioned earlier McCaskill getting the victory. Elizabeth Warren beating Massachusetts Senator Scott Brown in an expensive and high-profile race. A race that was considered possibly a key Senate race. The AP projecting the win for Democrat Joe Donnelly over Republican Richard Murdoch. Mr. Murdoch was scrutinized in the press for making some comments in regards to rape and pregnancy, and Joe Donnelly getting the win for that key Senate race. Let's take a look at some of the battleground states and the status of those. Florida, as I said, coming down to the line. It's very tight right now. Colorado, President Barack Obama continuing to inch ahead in Colorado. Colorado State netting 9 electoral votes, and Obama holding 51% of the votes currently over Romney's 47%. And that is as of 3 minutes ago. There are 65% of the results in Colorado. Florida, obviously a little bit heavier hitter, carrying 29 electoral votes. That's starting to close in on a victory, perhaps, for President Obama. 50% of Florida, 90% of Florida reporting, 50% for Obama right now, but Romney very close behind at 49%. Iowa with 6 electoral votes. The race there leaning towards Obama with 56% to Romney's 43%. There are 34% of the electorate reporting there. Nevada, no results as of yet. As we had said earlier, New Hampshire was also considered a battleground state, and that was called for President Barack Obama with 53% of the votes. Ohio, with 66% of the votes in, Obama at 50%, and Governor Romney at 48%. Virginia is one of the battleground states, again, with more electoral votes. They have 13, and 50% is going to Governor Romney currently, with 49% for for President Obama. Finally, Wisconsin, 33% of the vote in there. President Obama at 50% and Romney at 49%. So, as a recap of these battleground states, Virginia, the only one so far where Romney has the lead. And as of right now, with 76% of the electorate reporting there, it is not projected to be a very decisive lead. We will be going back to Executive Editor Mark O'Keefe, and we will be breaking at 11 p.m. For your national news.
Okay, we're back here. And we have Denise Robinson from the
Business and Professional Women.
Okay, Business and Professional Women. And thank you very much for coming on the show tonight. And always good to find out what's important for women, particularly here on election night. What are some of your thoughts maybe on the role of women in politics here in Fayette County? We do have there's a woman legislator. We have Deb Cola. We also have a woman judge in Nancy Vernon, woman commissioner, and Angela Zimmerling. Do you think that more women, would you like to see more women maybe in some other offices, or how do you kind of look at that?
Yes, we are always encouraging women to run for office, and it's very intimidating. I think a lot of women would like to run for office. I think they feel that they would like to give back to their communities, to their counties, but there is so much negativity in the political arena, as we have just seen with all the negative ads, that I think that's really what turns a lot of women off from running for office. But Pennsylvania, as a state, ranks very poorly in the amount of women involved in politics. I believe we're 47 out of the 50 states. So we do have a long way to go, and we're always having classes to encourage women, to give them the basics, to help them, because we don't have a lot of role models. So, yeah, I would love to see more women get involved in the political process in Fayette County.
I guess what I've always heard is on the state level with the legislature, because the jobs are they pay so well, and you have all these perks and stuff, that it's just kind of tough for women to kind of break into that, because there's such it's tough for anybody really for any newcomer and challengers. Most of the incumbents get voted in overwhelmingly. You do have a few things like the pay raise scandal that you did get some newcomers in, but otherwise it's kind of difficult. And even tonight, as we're seeing, the incumbents seem like they're going to get back in there. So it is.
But I'm very excited. I'm very happy about Pam Snyder.
Yeah.
I think there's a woman who has worked very hard, and I'm sure she's got to get some very thick skin.
Right.
From being the commissioner.
Would it be interesting to see how she does in Harrisburg? She is kind of, she's kind of been more of a consensus builder who's been worked the system, so to speak, and you don't hear a lot of controversy, but they do seem to be able to get things done in Greene County. So it'll be interesting to see when she goes to Harrisburg.
I'm very excited about it.
She'll be able to work with the Republicans there, and hopefully maybe be able to get some things done on behalf of the people.
And I thought it was nice that she and Tim Mahoney were working together, and I'm sure that if all our legislators work together, that's going to just bring good things for Fayette County.
Right, yeah.
And Greene County.
That's always certainly a good thing, and something that's to be desired there. So any other thoughts about the some of the other elections tonight?
I'm very, I'm a Democrat, but I found myself, when I voted today, I did not vote all Democrat. It was like some Democrats, some Republicans, and I think that's really good for all of us to look at the individual candidates rather than the party. And I thought, well, maybe I'm becoming more of an independent than a Democrat. And I just want to encourage people to get out and vote.
Right.
I think that that's our right. I mean, when you think of the women in 1915, 1960,
for the right to vote.
I mean, Susan B. Anthony and Elizabeth Cady Stanton, they mortgaged their houses.
Right.
They ended up in jail. They marched. For years they marched to give us the right to vote.
Okay,
And
well, we're gonna stop. I'm afraid I'm gonna.
you
have
got
to
me on
stop
my
here.
soapbox.
We're gonna have to go to. We're gonna go to our national election report now. So.
Thank you.
A self-made man who founded a communications company that now includes newspapers, television stations, and digital media, Stanley Willis S.W. Calkins Sr. started it all in Uniontown in 1937. Born in Shavertown, PA, just before the turn of the century, he left home as a teenager and worked his way through college at Carnegie Institute of Technology in Pittsburgh and then Northwestern University in Illinois. Calkins entered the newspaper business as a business manager at the Morning Sentinel in Orlando in 1924. By 1930, he had become the paper's general manager. During his time there, Calkins met his future wife Helen, a native of Springfield, Georgia. They married in 1933 and headed for a place they would call home. Charles E. Marsh, the nationally recognized newspaper publisher with General Newspapers Incorporated, sent the young manager and his new bride to help out with a struggling property in southwestern Pennsylvania, the Daily News Standard. The Daily News Standard was born from the Evening Standard, which was the first daily newspaper in Uniontown and began publication on December 17, 1888. Calkins came to Uniontown as the chain's representative for the Daily News Standard. In 4 short years, he decided to become his own boss, and in 1937, he purchased controlling interest in the Standard.
SW was an amazing man. If you think through, I mean, if I put myself in his shoes and think about being in 1937 in the midst of the Depression, taking a leap of faith and buying a newspaper that became what is now today Calkins Media, it amazes me. The courage, the determination, the fortitude, the entrepreneurial spirit that it took for him to do this just continues to this day to astonish me.
For the next 25 years, Calkins realized his vision of creating a strong family business that would serve the communities in which it operated. His journey began 2 counties away when he purchased a newspaper that would be a precursor to the Beaver County Times. The 1950s saw the expansion into the Philadelphia market, with properties in Doylestown and Bucks County on the Pennsylvania side, and the Burlington County Times on the New Jersey side. In 1961, he purchased a newspaper business in Florida that is now the South Dade News Leader, a paper that has been a positive force in the rebuilding of the Homestead area following the devastation of Hurricane Andrew in 1991. From 1937 until his passing in 1973, Calkins spent 36 years in a town that became his true home. Calkins was a publisher for all his newspapers, but continued to make his home in Uniontown with his wife Helen and their 4 children, Shirley, Carolyn, Sandra, and Stanley W. Calkins Jr., known as Bill. SW and Helen moved to Princeton Avenue, where they lived out their years. Helen outlived her husband by 30 years, creating her own legacy in a town she very much loved. Immediately after his death in 1973, S.W. Calkins Jr. assumed control of the company, and with the assistance of his 2 brothers-in-law, Chuck Smith and Marvin Ellis, they helped move the company forward after the loss of their beloved founder. Before long, the company was in the hands of SW's three daughters, who, armed with the lessons of their father, ushered the company into the electronic age with the acquisition of 3 television stations, starting with WWSB-TV in the mid-1980s, then the addition of WTXL-TV in Tallahassee, Florida, along with WAAY-TV in Huntsville, Alabama in the 2000s. Although the media landscape continues to change, it's the traditions and values of a small southwestern Pennsylvania coal town that provides the roadmap for the future.
The 75th anniversary of any organization is a great milestone and reflects the success of the organization. My grandfather more than laid the groundwork for our success. He ensured continued success with his devotion to the communities in which he operated newspapers. He had a great ability to identify markets where newspapers could thrive, but it went beyond that. He realized that in order to be successful, you needed more than just great markets. You need the publication to both reflect the community and, more importantly, make a positive contribution to that community. He instilled that community spirit into all of his properties, and the success is a direct result of this.
He was a big believer in giving back to the communities. He felt that that was a very important part of being in this business, that the communities supported the newspaper, supported our TV stations, and in return we needed to support them as well. So that was a hallmark of what he felt was important.
I always go back to what I've learned in Uniontown and those principles and philosophies about community work and doing what you can for others that Father taught me has always stuck with me and been a part of what I do.
As we celebrate the 75th anniversary, it's important to recognize the employees whose dedication to their jobs are the primary reason Calkins Media is still in business.
It's really been because of the efforts of literally thousands of people over the course of those decades to make this happen. This did not happen by accident. It is through their efforts, through the efforts of a lot of very dedicated professional people, starting with my grandfather, that we are where we are today with Calkins
Media. Hey, I'm Tracy Slayton from Way 31 in Huntsville, Alabama. Happy 75th anniversary.
This is John Anastasia at PhillyBurbs.com wishing Calkins Media Incorporated a happy 75th anniversary.
This is Hema Duarte from the Bucks County Courier-Times wishing Calkins Media a happy 75th anniversary.
Hi, this is Rich Kennedy up here at the Intelligence. Just wanted to wish everybody at Calkins Media a happy birthday on their 75th year. Congratulations, everyone.
Hello, I'm Lauren Dorsett, weeknight anchor for ABC 7, your Suncoast News in Sarasota. All of us at WWSB TV want to congratulate Calkins Media on 75 great years. Happy anniversary and keep up the great work.
I'm Jessica Green, an internet producer at WTXL in Tallahassee.
And I'm ABC Man.
And we want to wish Calkins Media a happy 75th anniversary.
My name is Al Sloan. I'm the production director at the Herald Standard in Uniontown, Pennsylvania. Been here 35 years. I'd like to wish a happy anniversary to the Calkins family and to Calkins Media.
Hi, I'm Joe DiPaolo from the Burlington County Times. Happy 75th anniversary, Calkins Media.
Fayette TV and theheraldstandard.com proudly bring you live election night coverage. Hosted by heraldstandard.com executive editor Mark O'Keefe. Co-hosted by Fayette TV personality David Slesoric. With updates from the Fayette County Election Bureau by talk radio host Bill Alexander. And a special report from the Fayette County Courthouse by Matthew Dowling. And now, your election night host, Mr. Mark O'Keefe.
Okay, I want to welcome back everybody. Election 2012. The hour is getting late here, but we do have some things that I still want to talk about. We're very fortunate to have Russ Rhodes, who is the chairman of the Republican Party here in Fayette County. I want to thank you very much for coming on the show.
My pleasure, Mark.
We also have Vince Vacides, who was Fayette County
Still
Commissioner for 16 years. Want to thank Vince for coming on the show also.
Thank you.
And we don't have any new updates here in Fayette County, but we're looking with 96% of the vote. And Russ, I guess it's a little bit of a mixed night here for you.
Yeah, I guess if we put it in boxing terms, it's a split decision that goes to the Democratic Party in Fayette County here.
Yeah. Well, I guess that with Mitt Romney doing very well here in Fayette County,
Yep.
and for the second time now, in back-to-back elections, the Republican candidate is going to win the Fayette County presidential election, which hadn't been done since back in 1972 when
Okay.
Richard Nixon
Wasn't
beat
aware of
George
that, but
McGovern.
yeah.
So that's a very impressive. And also back in 2008, McCain beat Obama a little over 1,000 votes.
I didn't think it was that. I thought it was more like less than 300 last
Yeah.
I looked.
Well, it was close.
Okay, whatever, it was close, yes.
But now, this
Yeah.
time around, now it's 53% to 46%, almost 4,000 vote margin.
Yep, yes.
So
Absolutely.
you have to feel pretty good about that.
Yeah, I am. I think Governor Romney, his message really resonated with the residents of Fayette County. Just going back from all the unemployment figures, everything from household income down, again, the unemployment, and not just, Fayette County, we're at about 9.1, 9.2%, 2 percentage points above what the national average is. Nationwide, our long-term...
It's actually drifted up over the past year.
Yeah, it has. It has.
It's looking fairly decent there for a while, but yeah. It's
And plus also the war on coal that the Obama administration has waged is really, I think, struck home with the residents here.
Mm-hmm. So let's look at that United States Senate race also. Bob Casey Jr., it looks like he's going to win with 96% of the vote. He's had 51 to 48%. Has about 1,000 vote margin, 21,874 to Tom Smith, 20,502. But back in 2006, he won 65% of the vote whenever he defeated the Republican incumbent at the time, Rick Santorum. So you kind of have to probably feel pretty good about that showing by Tom Smith there.
Yeah, obviously we were hoping for something a little bit better. But yes, Tom did a fabulous job coming from really nowhere, nobody knowing Tom whatsoever.
Right.
To come on to a point where, polls come right up to today had things tied and the momentum in his favor. So, things are starting to move. Pennsylvania is slowly starting to get back into the red. Fayette County, I think, is getting that way.
Do you think because I don't think Tom came down here, did he?
He did not, and I had several conversations with his
I
campaign.
think that might, if he would have come down, maybe he would
Absolutely.
have been able to win.
Absolutely.
Because even Casey really didn't campaign much in Fayette County. I thought that was kind of surprising.
He did make one appearance here during the election cycle, I believe.
Well, he sat down with your editorial board,
Right, he
didn't
did come in and
Yes.
he met with us, but he was only, actually it was kind of funny because that night the Democratic Party was having their banquet that night. We thought he was coming in for that, but he said no, he was going to, he had to go to Pittsburgh for a fundraiser, so he didn't even go to the Democratic Party banquet.
He was there one other time besides that evening, so two times.
Two times.
actually.
Yeah.
But since 1972, the Republicans have won 72, 2008, 2012, and Democrats have won the presidential campaigns 6 times, 76, 80, 84, 88, 92, and 96. So the last 9, it's 6-3 total.
Right.
In Pennsylvania, I think Philadelphia and the bedroom counties came in and gave Obama, according to what I had seen a little earlier, about a 450,000 vote margin, and that was able to carry the state and negate any other areas.
And that's a big nut to crack.
Yes.
I can tell you, we were hoping that, knowing that Philadelphia and Allegheny County would go for the president, we were hoping that their numbers would actually be down, and that we would be able elsewhere through the T, southwestern Pennsylvania, counter that with enough increase, like you saw in Fayette County,
Right.
to overcome that 450,000 vote edge that came out of Philadelphia.
As we've talked about, it says really those bedroom communities in outside of Philadelphia, because Philadelphia's always been very Democratic, but those bedroom, they're kind of tend to be the more affluent, the more educated, whatever. And a lot of times they have gone for Republicans.
They've shifted in recent decades.
But it is funny, though, because at the same time, you have Governor Corbett, who's a Republican. The Republicans control the state Senate, control the state House. We also have a Republican senator in Pat Toomey. So it's just kind of, it's just kind of a funny thing that Republicans can't seem to come out with a presidential candidate. The last presidential candidate was George Bush back in 1988 to win Pennsylvania.
Registration-wise, there's 1 million more Democrats in Pennsylvania
Makes it very
than the
difficult,
Republicans.
you would think, yeah.
That if they can get the votes out,
the Democrats are going to win.
Yes, particularly in that eastern part of the state. What I thought was interesting in this campaign was they had a big rally. I think you probably are aware of it in Bucks County recently, and Obama still carried Bucks County by 15,000 votes, and that's one of those bedroom counties.
And that was one of the counties that we were looking to shift. Thought we had a really good.
Republicans probably, are they the majority in Bucks County?
Probably pretty I think they are. I think they are, yes. And there was a big, I think Fitzpatrick and another a Democratic candidate, she ran for judge, Bukovar, I believe. That was the big congressional race in that district.
And you'll have to forgive me, I was concentrating on Fayette County. So.
I know that we have a sister newspaper as part of the Calkins chain, Bucks County Courier-Times, and they endorsed Governor Romney. So that was kind of interesting, as we did too at the Herald Standard here.
You got one right.
Yeah.
I'm joking.
For Fayette County. Our track record is not too good. It's often called the kiss of death. But
don't I know it?
Yep.
I'm joking.
But I think Russ knows it.
Yeah, I know that too. But hey.
Looking at the congressional district, and again, you have to feel pretty good here. It's still not over, but Bill Schuster, 20,992. Karen Ramsberg, 2,919. I guess it's like 73 votes there.
Right.
And of course, Bill's going to win. He's going to win this race. I mean, the district is so heavily Republican.
And district numbers, it's 61 to 39.
Yeah, so he's going to win. But I think that really does say something for Bill to be able, a Republican, to be able to win Fayette County. And I know he did. He spent time here. I assume he probably had some contact with you.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
Absolutely. And he does. I know that when he first got elected, there was a lot of concern with this guy from like Hollidaysburg, this district is so far flung, and he only represented, in the past decade, he only represented a small portion of Fayette County. Now he's going to be representing the all of it, all Fayette County. But he has come around, and he's definitely seemed to make some contact with local officials. I don't think he really worries whether the township supervisors are Democrat or Republican. He's just trying to.
Bill's the way a politician is supposed to be.
Right.
And when it's election time, sure, there's partisanship going on.
Right.
But once the election's out of the way, he knows there's a job to be done.
Right.
And he knows he's to help his constituents, no matter what that letter is next to their name.
Right.
And so Bill is going to do, I'm very confident, good things for Fayette County, and especially if, as Scuttlebutt has it, he'll be named as chairman to the Transportation Committee.
No,
he's very knowledgeable about infrastructure.
Right.
He had helped several local municipalities with water, water in particular with the mountain and the Fairchance area, and also he's very good with community projects. He helped the Hopwood Village project out a lot with their sidewalks and their upgrading the village. So he's been able to deliver some funding over the years when he had that portion of Fayette County.
Right. So
now he has everything. And
right. And because it would be easy for him just to kind of almost write us off, and that's what we were kind of concerned with. But he really has, and during this, it was good to see him actually campaigning here, hear his ads on the radio, knowing that he's spending money. And I think in the back of his mind, and probably you may have talked to him about this, but for him to be able to win a Democratic county, I think he was just kind of looking at that and hoping he could pull that off. Because really, he was going to win this election, whether he wins Fayette County or not. But it was obvious that he cared and that he was really
and if you look at
trying to win
Green
here.
versus Fayette, I don't know if he carried Green. I didn't hear the end result, but at one point you had said that he was behind in Green.
Right.
And I don't know, maybe he won Fayette but didn't win Green. So,
Well, I think probably a factor there would be that at least people in Fayette County are familiar with him since he's been a congressman. Even though he hasn't represented the whole county, he's been here, he's been active, his name has been in the paper and that sort of thing.
Where Green's brand new.
Where Green, he's brand new. So it could be a little bit, it could be a little bit tougher. Also, too, I would think that probably that portion of Greene County, probably even the portion of Washington County, because it's on the east where it's more Democratic than Greene County. The further west you go, the more Republican it gets, particularly Waynesburg and that area is more Republican. So, and probably that same way with Eastern and Washington County. So Ramsburg might have been a little bit better there. Okay, we're going to go back to Dave now for some updates on the national scene.
Well, the electoral vote tally that we're looking at for the presidential race, most major media outlets, including the networks, are calling the race for President Obama. However, Governor Romney has not conceded the race as of yet. President Obama with the electoral vote tally of 274 and Governor Romney at 201. Some of the key victories that have been projected for Obama: battleground state of Ohio, Iowa, and Oregon. Also win in Pennsylvania and a few of the swing states, or what are considered the swing states: New Hampshire, Wisconsin, and also Michigan. We learned that Governor Romney, just before the race was announced as as Obama as the projected winner, Romney picked up his first battleground victory of the evening in North Carolina. Obama is down, however, in the popular vote by about 1 million votes, and that represents about 1% of the popular vote. So very close in that regard, but Governor Romney projected to be the winner of the popular vote. The Obama camp saying that the victory tonight is a proof that ordinary people can overcome powerful interests. For Governor Romney's camp, no official statement, as I said, has been released, a statement of concession. However, if Governor Romney concedes the race this evening, it will mark the end of what's been basically a 6-year run for the presidency. As most of our viewers would recall, Governor Romney also sought the presidency in 2008. In the Senate side of things, former Senator George Allen has conceded to former Virginia Governor Tim Kaine. That is the seat that is vacated by Jim Webb, who was retiring. And as we look at the balance of power in the Senate, 19 Democratic seats were picked up and 6 GOP seats were picked up. So that leaves the balance at approximately 49 seats for the Democratic Party and 43 for the Republicans. Voter turnout today, the projections that we've picked up on, it seems that some of the camps that have traditionally voted for President Obama once again went that direction. Young and unmarried folks, political moderates, women's, African Americans, Latinos, city dwellers, and lower income individuals all swung towards the Obama side today. We'll go back to Mark and his guests Russ Rhodes and Vince Vicides to hear more about our local races after these promotional messages. Thank you.
Tonight's broadcast has been sponsored in part by Fred Ziegler of the Stonehouse Restaurant. Fayette TV thanks Fred and the restaurant for their support of community television. Join the Stonehouse Restaurant on November 22nd for family-style Thanksgiving from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. The menu will include roasted turkey, ham, green bean, casserole, homemade stuffing, cranberry relish, buttermilk, mashed potatoes, gravy, candied sweet potatoes, and more, all served family style. Or try Thanksgiving to go, available from 11 till 5, with serving sizes for 4 to 6 people. Call to reserve your space or your takeout today. 724-329-2020.
What do I do in December?
What will you do in December? Hopefully you will.
Have yourself a merry little Christmas.
The jazzy tunes and sultry voice of Melissa Manchester are the perfect remedy to beat the winter blues. After all,
Christmas time is here.
December 15th at the State Theater.
At theheraldstandard.com, our mission is to provide news, information, and services to enable our communities to prosper. Every day, we strive to achieve this goal through 3 dynamic products. Wake up each morning to a copy of the heraldstandard.com newspaper delivered to your home. Enjoy the e-edition and exact replica of our print product on your computer, tablet, or smartphone. Or secure unlimited access to our full-coverage digital news site online at heraldstandard.com. One local news leader, 3 great options.
Fayette TV and theheraldstandard.com proudly bring you live election night coverage. Hosted by heraldstandard.com Executive Editor Mark O'Keefe. Co-hosted by Fayette TV personality David Slesoric. With updates from the Fayette County Election Bureau by talk radio host Bill Alexander. And a special report from the Fayette County Courthouse by Matthew Dowling.
Okay, welcome back. Election 2012. We have Russ Rhodes, who's the chairman of the Fayette County Republican Party, with us. I want to thank you, Russ, very much for coming on, and Vince Vicides, former Fayette County Commissioner, for being on the show tonight. And I guess, Russ, it's probably a little bittersweet. Mitt Romney did win Fayette County very impressively, but it does not seem like he's going to win the election here. They may get the popular vote, but apparently it doesn't look too good for the Electoral College.
Right.
But, you know, I think one of the things that is very, one of the things I was just checking out, since 1933, when Franklin Roosevelt won, there have been 14 presidents. And out of those 14, there have been only 2 incumbents that didn't win. And there were 2 elected incumbents. It was Jimmy Carter back in '80 and George Bush back in '88. So I think that, you know, it's probably a tough thing to really beat an incumbent. And obviously the economy was a big thing, and that was on a lot of people's minds. But I think, you know, with it, maybe just showed just enough improvement that maybe people weren't quite ready to just, you know, toss Obama out there.
Well, it's kind of a deja vu from 2000 when George W. Bush won the Electoral College, and didn't win the popular vote. Al Gore won the popular vote.
Right.
It's just a reverse. Romney winning the popular vote, and it appears that Obama won the Electoral College.
One of the things that it seemed in Pennsylvania that for most of the campaign, it was almost like there really wasn't, we didn't hear much ads or anything. It was kind of funny because you're thinking like, well, gee, you know, shouldn't he be campaigning here more? And then over the last month, he really poured a lot of money in and made all kind of different stops, and it seemed like there was a lot more activity, and all of a sudden the race got really close.
Sure. Yeah.
Do you think maybe he just waited too long, or is Pennsylvania, is it winnable?
Oh, absolutely. I think Pennsylvania is winnable. I think, you know, we put too much into polls a lot of the times, I think, And maybe that was the case here where, you know, even as much as 6 weeks ago,
Right.
President Obama was up by, you know, 10 points, 12 points. I didn't always believe those. You know, I think President Obama won it by 10 points 4 years ago, Pennsylvania.
Right.
And I kept saying to myself, you know, you know, we're worse off than we were 4 years ago.
Right.
And President's doing even better. That's where I had some problems with the polls. So, you know, did the Romney campaign not look into their crystal ball good enough to, you know, spend more time here early? Possibly, I don't know. But when things did tighten up and it became obvious, you know, you got to make a play for it.
Right. Well, what are some of your thoughts kind of moving ahead? I mean, obviously, the Republican Party is here to stay now in Fayette County, and obviously making some big inroads here. I guess probably one of the challenges is to try and maybe get more local, you know, more Republicans to run on the ballot for local offices. You'll have some, well, not next year, but in coming years, you'll have some row offices,
Right,
which
2 years.
Republicans hardly ever run any candidates for.
Well, next year, actually, we have row offices coming up, yeah.
Yeah, and you'll have, well, next year the big thing will be the 2 judicial races, which we've never had here, to have 2 openings on the Fayette County bench. I'm sure the Fayette County Republican Party will be working hard to support some candidates in that election.
We're already looking ahead.
Yeah.
Not just next year, but in 2 years as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, we're out there recruiting, and I hope to have people on the ballot on our side next year.
In a lot of ways, I mean, it does seem this is kind of fertile ground, because obviously, I mean, the people here, even the Democrats, are more conservative than probably the National Party Democrats are, and you know, it might just be the idea of just trying to get people to vote for a Republican, and it seems like that's kind of happening now.
And that's where I'm hoping Congressman Schuster can kind of give a kickstart on that when we have some, you know, some Republican leadership in the county. And the electorate says, oh, things aren't going to fall apart, and they're actually going smoothly, that they'll start looking at the Republican candidates a little more closely. And another thing that we're working towards, we were able to this year actually contribute money to our candidates' campaigns, something that's never happened before.
Right.
So I'm hoping that sends a message to anybody that's looking
Wants
to
to
possibly run, that, you know, they're not in it alone anymore, that there is going to be help for them.
Sure, that's a
out
good
there.
thing.
And that's a big thing
Right,
right there.
right.
It really is.
And you have to look at all the races as well. You know, there were a lot of Democratic victories. The row office, the state row offices, were all pretty much won, you know, solidly by the Democrats in Fayette County. Pasquale, DePasquale, Kane, and there was one other statewide.
McClure, yeah.
Pardon?
McClure?
Yes, McCord for treasurer. And you know, so there were some solid victories there. And the local legislators all won pretty solidly. So aside from a few races that I think there were factors there that made a difference. The Appalachian region being one, and that coal issue with the Romney versus Obama, I think that did factor in.
Okay, we're going to toss it back to Dave. We'll be back in a few minutes.
I'll just wrapping up tonight's election coverage. We have the most recent electoral vote total or tally as projected by CNN: 281 for President Obama and 201 for Governor Romney. Once again, all media outlets, or many media outlets, calling the race for President Obama, but as of yet, no official concession from Governor Romney. Democrats fell short of their goal of 25 House seats, which would give them control of the 435-member chamber. House Speaker John Boehner had this to say tonight, quote, "I'm humbled to be trusted by Americans. We will never let you down." Meanwhile, in the Senate, the Democrats picked up more seats than the Republicans this evening. Bob Casey won re-election to the U.S. Senate in Pennsylvania. He has been serving since the early 2000s, and he withstood a challenge from Tom Smith of the Republican Party, who was endorsed and backed by the Tea Party. Mr. Smith invested quite a bit of money into this race, over $17 million, and it was coming down to the wire in terms, of the projected outcome of this race. But Bob Casey with the win over Tom Smith. So that will wrap up our national reports here from the news desk. And at this time, we will send it back to Mark O'Keefe, Executive Editor of the Herald Standard, and his special guests, Russ Rhodes and Vince Vasides, to close out tonight's broadcast.
Okay, we're still waiting for the final results. I don't know how much anything's going to change. We have 96% of the votes in, probably a few precincts out. Vince, I'm sure you're kind of used to some election nights just waiting for those couple final precincts to come rolling in there. I think somebody said Henry Clay from the mountains. That's probably one of the late ones usually. I think they said North Union 4, which I think is probably a big precinct, isn't it? Or,
fairly big, good size,
yeah.
A couple thousand voters.
Yeah. So maybe that's why that one's a little...
It could be various reasons. It usually does happen, though, where there's a few that are getting, late returns. But that could be several hours yet. You never know what the situation is. I don't know.
Yeah, it's kind of dependent on volunteers out there, and kind of difficult sometimes. Maybe there's some problems or whatever. It's not like, well, I guess they do get paid somewhat, right?
Yeah, they do. They do. But it's a long day.
Right.
And in all honesty, that's 14, 15-hour day, and you have to give them a lot of credit. That when you factor in the hours versus what they do get paid, it's probably less than minimum wage.
Right.
And they certainly are deserving.
And they're before the polls open at 7, and they're there long after they close at 8.
It's a long day. Yeah, definitely.
It's a difficult, and you have to be dedicated. And I think we do have a lot of dedicated volunteers that do that. There's probably 400 or 500 people to run an election, with all the workers inside the polls. So it varies from.
And I want to send out, congratulations to the election board downtown. It is a thankless job, and they hear nothing but complaints and everything else. But I think overall they do. I do know that there were 2 precincts that all the judges quit last night. Prior to the polls, so they had to scramble to fill 2 polls with judges, and not just the judge of elections, but the majority inspector, minority inspector, and all the other ones that go along with it.
It's a challenge.
It is.
It's a challenge, and it's always, you're trying to constantly improve, work in progress type thing. But they do a lot of good service there.
Right.
Those snafus do happen, though. Hopefully, it'll be resolved.
Okay, well, that's going to wrap up our show for tonight. I want to thank Russ and Vince for coming along, and our other guests. I want to thank the folks here at Fayette County TV, Channel 77, for doing a great job with production, and hope that everybody out there has enjoyed watching the show. I want to thank you for watching. My name is Mark O'Keefe. I'm Executive Editor for HeraldStandard.com. We'll see you later.
Happy anniversary.
Thank you.
Good night.